Hello, everyone. We are back for game two. This time it's CUAA versus Ithaca. So, actually, already started draft, so we're going to get right into draft phase. Here we already got the first round of bans. We see Ithaca respecting the Trundle, Zach, and the Jace. Meanwhile, CUAA has kind of banned out the Graves, Orin, and Yone. Seeing some Malzahar and Syndra mid pick very early, and Bard and Pike support. What were your thoughts on the pick so far, Andrew?
Um, well, for Ithaca, I spoke with the other caster, and he said that in their last game they went for a very late game scaling comp and just couldn't quite get to that point in the game. And so you can kind of see a switch up here with the Bard trying to roam around the map, establish a little bit of control. And for CUAA, obviously last game they had the Jason, the Trundle, that were very dominant. Kind of got the job done for them, being taken away, and so very interested to see what they kind of go towards here. It looks like they're kind of switching it up, looking for more of a skirmish type of lineup here.
Yeah, we already see. Speaking of Ithaca switching up their game plan, the Draven pick is pretty aggressive change of plans. Syndra
No,
too. She does have a late game presence, but I feel like her lane potential is also really high.
yeah, the thing about Syndra is I feel like with the rework, it kind of made it so that, at any point she can be strong. She's obviously a little weaker early, but once she gets that first, the double Qs, she gets very hard to deal with.
The Ziggs and Kate ban hard to prevent CUAA from having any sort of ranged pick that would potentially disrupt their game plan here. Followed up by a set and a Vi ban as well.
Yeah, and looking at the bands here, it looks like CUAA is going to have a lot of different picks than we just saw. I'm not sure whether we saw their main game plan last game or something that one of the game plans that they run, and maybe this time, I'm excited to see what happens. Seeing these players on different champs.
Yeah, especially looking for the top lane, kind of see what he has in his pocket here to if he can perform at that level. Not any other picks as well, because he was a I wouldn't really say the Jace like in lane was scary, but just his general game knowledge and his ability to uh use that.
Whoa,
Ooh, a Galio pick.
whoa, where's that going? I'm excited to see what this last pick is for them because this kind of
I will say also with the Volibear pick, it's hard to say. Oh, Nara, so that's probably yeah. Actually, what is going on here?
is it is it Malzahar Pike bot lane? Is that what we're looking at here?
I don't know. We'll have to see who gets slotted where when we actually get in the game. This is a really interesting comp. I guess CUAA is a bit allergic to playing ADCs at this.
That's yeah, the traditional ADC is just something they're not willing to pick up. It looks like. Um, I'm pretty excited to see what they do with this comp though. But on the other side, I mean, it looks pretty in a pantheon coming through. So I'm very intrigued to see how this one goes. It looks like Ikitha is very. They switched it up. They said, okay, we got to play a little differently than last time. We can't try and scale and win. These games, they're very skirmish heavy, and if we pick champs that can't compete in an early to mid game level, we're just not gonna make it.
Just have to wait and see where the champions get sent where. I guess.
This to me looks like something you'd see in an LCS Game 5 draft here. It's just kind of all the niche picks, random stuff coming out. I mean, I don't know what to think about this draft, especially from CUAA. A lot of curveballs. They can really catch them off guard here, depending on what they do. Because I mean, Me personally, looking at that draft, I wouldn't know what to think, and I'm sure that not a lot of people would.
Yeah, one of the ideas from chat was that it's a Pike Galio bot, just something ridiculously kill heavy to try to counter the Draven Bard. So
Yeah, that would make sense. And I mean, having a bard, you really want him to be roaming around helping everyone. That's what his kit's built to do. He's very good at it, very fast. Um, but if you leave the Draven alone with something like a Pike Galio, it would disrupt that very heavily.
So I mean, looking like a really interesting game. Not even from just the picks alone, but just how these teams are kind of shaking up their own game plans and responding to bans, responding to how they played previous games. We're gonna take about 5 minutes while the teams get into game. We will get into game two of or round two rather of the Emporia Invitational.
Yep. So if you guys are still in the stream from last game, we saw CUAA. They looked very good. But Ikitha, on the other hand, they drafted a little late game, their first game, and just couldn't quite make it there. But this time, things look a lot different. As we can see here, Ithaca's grouping up in their jungle, might look for an invade, and CUAA is kind of just playing this 5-point defense.
Yep, not a whole lot going on there. They're having themselves a little party in that bush there.
Yep, the League of Legends classic right there. Spam your animations.
Get out of the way before the game actually starts.
Yep, and so it turns out this draft that CUAA put together is actually a Malzahar Pike bot lane, and not the Galio Pike that we kind of theorized during the draft.
Yeah, a lot of definitely out of the ordinary. I don't think there's a whole lot of reason behind it. Probably their bot laner just is really comfortable on the AP pick. A control mages that plays a little bit differently from your standard ADC. So that's kind of my take on why exactly we're seeing this pick. We'll see how they kind of handle the Bard Draven. If Bard doesn't play around it, it doesn't respect some of their CC, their control, it can go poorly for Ithaca's bot lane.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of intrigued to see how, with the Ziggs pick, it provides a lot of tower pressure, a lot of split push, but with the Malzahar, it does a little, but not to the same extent. I mean, you have your little spiders, bugs, whatever, but they definitely don't do as much work as a Ziggs satchel.
I don't know if you know. Do you know if the execute isn't in this patch, right? I think it's next patch that they're adding execute to Malzahar W.
Yeah, I don't think it's in there yet. If it is, somebody remind me so that I can abuse that in solo queue, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's added yet.
Yep.
But yeah, I think this game.
Oh, looks like an early fighting from Crisis in top against Clubby. Playing on the Gnar, probably one of the few champions he has on his roster that doesn't start with the letter J. Taking that early poke from Crisis, we'll have to see if he's able to stay in lane. He does have negative arc, he can do that extra damage. It looks like might be trying to set up a possible gank from Brown here, try to help alleviate some of this pressure. Pantheon dropping a lot of his combo, but is really low mana. Ooh, using the E a little bit too early there.
Flashing.
That's been an early flash. Klebby is really close in. Chomp's coming up, but Klebby is a little bit too slow to get that third proc. Crisis will go back.
They won't get in. It looks like that wave's going to push into the turret and just give Crisis kind of just a free back here, and also just burning the Volibear flash. So
a whole lot for him. Lavinia is getting some pressure on here, although Ground Action trying to follow up with a gank on Halachu. Halachu does use the pushback to save any further resources being burned.
And that scatter from Syndra is just such a powerful ability. I mean, you don't even have to have one of the Syndra balls to stun, I mean, he can still just push anyone running at you away with ease.
Aggressive Viego positioning here. A bit of flashbacks from round one. We'll just back off and go and get some farm safety.
Definitely, and luckily for the Viego this time around, it feels like it's a bit easier as the game goes on into a Volibear rather than the Trundle, who's just going to steal your stats, you know. Once you get that Blade of the Rune King, and depending on what Volibear builds, you can do a lot more damage to him and just overall win out on that 1v1.
We'll have to wait and see maybe how mid game shakes out. Viego can possibly get a ganks off. He does have a lot of these lanes that Viego has. They kind of want. But not going to be a follow up. We see a lot of we're going to see a lot of aggressive, I think, pushing from both his side lanes and possibly even the Syndrome mid. So it might make ganks hard for Viego, and Viego might just want to possibly farm or just get prio for objectives like he has right now.
Yeah, definitely here. Looking at this bot lane matchup, it feels like the Pyke was kind of picked just to kind of pressure the enemies, you know, let Malzahar get a little bit of space.
Cassandra in a bit of a tight spot here, being ripped up by Hunter, but Brown Action is close here as well. Boarding pass getting the stun off. A lot going on here. It looks like boarding pass will escape the situation fairly easily with Magical Journey.
And I will say the support matchup here, you know, they're very similar in play style. Pyke is obviously a little bit greedier, but both champions love to get out, roam the map, help more than just the bot lane. And
He's trying to hold this lane, but it might go south for him. Does get the knock aside onto Khazadon, so
yeah, that's going to cancel the hook and any hopes of a kill for CUAA here in the bot lane.
that's going to get really risky, but will go unpunished for the time being.
Yep, and it kind of
No,
looks again.
Does get another hook off. He is taking a lot of damage from the Hail of Blades Pyke doing its job here. Boarding pass is around the corner though. He's looking to stun Khazadon, but he does barely dodge. Silence on the boarding pass. The exhaust comes out. Big Rumbo is trying to hit those axes, but Khazadon lurks into the waters.
And boarding pass there, I mean, he really wanted that one. You know, I don't think he respected the mobility of the Pyke. And even if they managed to get a little more damage on the Pyke there, he still had flash up. So throwing down that exhaust there feels a little wasted. But it allows them to get this back in that they need. And hopefully the Draven to get an item match on the Malzahar here to survive a little bit easier.
Yeah, the exhaust was a little bit much, but does create that sort of little bit of pressure for them that hopefully they can use once they come back to them.
Yeah, and I'm honestly surprised we're not seeing a Vamp Scepter here from the Draven. It feels like, you know, as this game goes on, it's just going to be more of a 1v1 between the bot lanes.
King Pass is kind of in trouble here. Malzahar is 6, drops the ultimate, and dies in the magical journey, so...
And that's really the power of the pick, I feel like, is that, you know, Malzahar ult early, you know, he doesn't have enough damage to 100 to 0 somebody quite yet. But if he's got a teammate there, especially a Pyke with an execute, you know, they could pretty much kill anybody that Malzahar lays his eyes on.
I mean, it's really troublesome for boarding pass, I'll say. As hard, you have a lot of tools to be really slippery and get around corners and get around the map really quickly, but that Malzahar just kind of really cancels that out pretty harshly, I'll say.
I'd agree with that. And it kind of forces this Draven into a difficult spot. I mean, without a Vamp Scepter here especially, kind of what I was touching on before that fight, is that this matchup's going to be mostly a 1v1 between the Malzahar and the Draven, and not having that extra sustain against a champion that can just throw some damage over time on you and walk away could get kind of rough for the Draven.
So, Doomslayer getting a little bit of pressure from Viego gank here. Is forced to leave the wave at the mercy of the Draven, although he's going to be stacking the axis for the time being.
Yeah, and this Malzahar pick just feels super good, super safe. I mean, you have your spell shield, obviously, but you can just drop the curse and your spiders on the wave and walk away and basically get all of the CS without really being there.
Yeah, it's paying off for CUAA, I'll say. Although boarding pass, dropping the magical journey, does get the shield early. Laviana gets the stun off through that, but is going to be shredded by the Spiderlings. Meanwhile, top, Schlubby drops the ultimate onto Crisis. Crisis is eating a lot of damage. Going back bot, Laviana is getting dove, and the same situation for Crisis on the opposite end. Oh, the Galio is getting the taunt off. Halachu is burning down, but does have the tools to hopefully get out of this situation.
Yeah, and it feels like all these skirmishes are just going CUA's way, and that's perfect for them. I mean, they have the map mobility with the Galio, such a huge pick in the mid lane. Can out-rotate almost any other champion in that role. And paid off there for them, saving the Doomslayer's life here on the Malzahar.
Yeah, the Galio pick is proving really detrimental to that early committal to the Draven. It's becoming a problem. Although we will see Crisis ulting in on Pantheon, looking to get a kill on the Brown action here. Boarding pass is around the corner. Brown action will flash, and they will return to the tower for safety. Unfortunately, Crisis' team not really able to commit a lot more to secure anything there.
And CUAA, it feels like they kind of know their limits. They're executing perfectly. They're getting the first Drake. They're getting Rift. They're winning out on skirmishes. They're just playing really well around each other, and it feels like they're continuing some momentum from last game.
I mean, CUAA is showing that they know what makes their team comp good. They know how to play around their better players. Like,
Yeah, and I'm curious to see. Oh, a little bit of poke there from the Bard, but I'm curious to see how the Gnar pick works out here. Obviously, it is his second most played champion this season, but only with 6 games.
he has more knowledge. Although Klebby does get Mega Gnar, gets the drop onto Crisis, ults him into the wall. Crisis is forced to try to run to tower, but he is taking a lot for it.
Yeah, and as I was gonna say, it looks like there's a little bit of a lead for Pantheon in the CS, but with this Gnar pick, it's something you can really sit back and you scale really well. I think a lot of people underestimate that, but I'm excited to see how this one works out instead of the Jace.
Yeah, to see if he can translate, or how much of that top lane knowledge is stored in the Jace rather than in the player. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And the Syndra here is, well, come on, Ravens. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
That's exactly the combo we were kind of touching on.
Yep. Meanwhile, boarding pass is just burning to the Malzahar, and does pick up Kazandam, who dies the tower. But that is what we were talking about earlier with the Malzahar pike. It's proving to be a little bit troublesome for Ithaka's bot lane.
No, I agree, and it's kind of the point I was touching on is that the Malzahar early. He doesn't have a ton of damage to 100 to 0 anybody, but if he's got that teammate, I mean, you're looking at a 2v1 essentially. Because one person just goes out of the fight completely, and if it's the Draven, I mean, the Bard can't do too much to really combat that.
Yeah, maybe it's hard to say what Ithaca's bot lane can really do in this situation. Of course, all Draven can do is just try to farm, but it's so hard when Malzahar can push into you so easily. It makes it difficult to have any control over the lane. All boarding pass can really do is try to help out the other lanes, but the other lanes aren't necessarily that far ahead either. The jungler, if you look actually, the jungler is down gold, and mid is up gold, but not up any kills. So Halachu might be one of their last bets as far as getting any sort of early objectives.
Yeah, and it feels like, if CUAA kind of sticks to the get to the objective before the enemy team, that they're going to find a lot of success in that and just being able to secure things because it's hard, especially because your mid and bot are split up right now to enter onto this Drake.
Yeah, this is gonna get shredded by that Malzahar spiderlings, making it not really giving Ithaca any real advantage there. Looks like Viego's gonna go back to just farm out his top side. Not much left for Ithaca at the moment to really do besides try to, you know, get the farm, wait until CUAA plays more aggressively, maybe catch them out then. But even then, that's kind of 50-50.
Yep. And
Oh, Diana is trying to look for maybe either trading here. Not gonna find a whole lot else here. Boarding passes, just trying to secure some vision here. Xandam's waiting to just deny that vision.
yeah, this game feels a lot like the first one for CUAA, except for the fact that this time around they're executing a lot better in the early game. And so a lot of the mistakes they made have been patched up, and they have complete control over this map right now. And yeah, and it feels like their team also will just eventually outscale the side of Ithaca in sense of team fighting rather than individual champions scaling.
Fortunately, the Pantheon pick, I don't see it working out a whole lot too well for Ithaca. Not saying anything about the individual player, though he does do a lot of damage to Clubby there, but no kill. We'll watch it on the corner, maybe trying to set something up, but Clubby is backed off at this point. Let's see, maybe knowing that his team is on top side, he might try to play more aggressively, although they have backed off. Oh, being a stun off on Kazadam, a little bit of damage, but not a whole lot else there. And yeah, like the Pantheon pick, as I was saying, I can't imagine it scaling all too well here. And even now, Crisis is getting collapsed on here. He's trying to ult, but he just gets stunned by Brown action, and will go down. I think I'll just let that play speak for itself.
Yep, and they're kind of looking for a return here in the mid lane, but with the Malzahar spell shield and having flash up, he's just way too safe.
Yeah, I might try to maybe turn it around on them with the flash. Oh, nope, Bocce trades the flash. Although Lavinia is next up if he doesn't play it too safe, but does have his heroic mist. So
yeah, and
looks like maybe boarding pass done. No. Well,
yeah, the Malzahar is just too safe, and even if they landed that there, they'd have to land a follow-up CC to even have a chance of doing anything to him before he gets into turret range.
this Malzahar, this Malzahar pick is proving to be like really detrimental to Ithaca and what their whole game plan was. It seems they've let a little too hard into this early game, kill pressure to have a whole lot of chances here.
Yeah, and I will say for the side of Ithaca, you do have this Syndra. With the rework, she is a monster late game. She's playing very well, CSing very well, and so if you can keep that up, I mean, there's always that chance. But as of now, it just feels like there's no openings for them to take. Side lanes are hard, and it just feels like with any objective that's going to come up, it's free reigns for CUAA here.
Yeah, at this point, we're kind of just waiting to see, hopefully, either Draven getting some sort of cash out finally, or Crisis is looks like they're going to be caught out. Like a sound of run action dropping the smite, the ignite goes down, and the ult is dropped. Crisis goes down. Lavinia, getting ulted by Malzahar, will be the next target for Pyke's ultimate.
That's just so huge. I was going to say, Syndra looking for something, but I was going to say that this game was slowing down a little bit, but after that, I'll eat my words a little bit, because CUAA, they found a couple picks they needed. They're going to pick up their second Rift Herald of the game, I believe, and they're going to lay it down, some pressure, probably pick up the Drake that's spawning pretty soon as well.
Yeah, it is not looking like Ithaca is in really dire straits at this point.
And
Crisis
CUAA.
standing a little bit too far, a little too far forward, trying to get vision for his team, but ultimately being punished for it.
And I'm curious to see here if Ithaca, they have 4 people kind of in the bot lane. If they're going to look for a pick on this Galio and try and contest this Drake and delay out the timer a little bit for this Dragon Soul.
Yeah, I mean, for once Ithaca is first at the Dragon. Boarding Pass does land the stun. There's going to be a follow-up stun. The Bard ult. Oh, Hawachu is there, but Flash comes down. Exhaust as well. Ooh, the
Everfrost.
will stop Ithaca in their tracks. And
But
now
here comes CUAA.
the rest of the team is here to possibly follow up. Lavinia did eat a lot of damage, taking some tower shots. All the Doomslayer might be standing too far forward there. Does poke, drops the spell shield, gets the stun off. Hawachu is there. The ult gets dropped, and it will kill it just before the ult is able to CC Hawachu. Oh, we see Lavinia go down. Same for Galio. Boarding Pass has to drop Flash. Draven getting hooked and getting put into the meat grinder that is Volibear Gnar. And they're looking for more. Crisis tried to ulti in. Will not be able to do a lot else for his team.
Exactly. And, they got the pick they needed on the Malzahar there. But unfortunately, it just took them a little too much time. And for the side of CUAA, this Pyke is huge. He's dishing out a lot of damage. And he was able to kind of clean up the fight for them and get this Drake to force it onto Soul Point here.
And I always see that because Adam's actually 8-1 on the Pyke. He has been hitting those bounties and collecting that gold for his team. It's been very, very, very profitable. See, actually, the support being up almost 3K on the Bard is a crazy difference, I think, for a support matchup.
It is a bit of a difference, but I mean, you got to keep in mind the Pyke, he'll just generate so much gold. And, if he continues to translate it to this lead and, keep getting his team ahead, it's just going to get even more and more out of control. And eventually, it's just going to feel like the Pyke himself is a solo lane assassin running around killing your whole team.
I mean, not for nothing too, like you said, he does generate it, not for himself, but also for the rest of his team. We see Doomslayer almost at 10,000 gold at 21 minutes into the game, which is pretty crazy to think about, I think. He does have 200 CS lead, at 203 now.
Yeah, and it's kind of something that is really interesting to me is kind of the whole playstyle swap from CUAA. We watched them last game. They were very controlled, grouping, but now they're the ones looking for picks, doing what K-State was trying to do in that last game. And it feels like they're very versatile and just can kind of do whatever they want to in both of these games.
Yeah, very. Seems like Ithaca doesn't really have a whole lot of options. They do. The last line of hope, I would say, would have to be Hawachu on the Syndra.
Oh, definitely. The rift's coming down.
Looking to try to get a push onto the inhibitor tower here. All of Ithaca is here to defend it. Oh, Hawachu getting a nasty stun onto Gizadon. He will go down to the Syndra ult. Doomslayer trying to position. Does have to burn Flash. The Bard ult will not find its mark, but Lavinia has so much and does drop the ult to try to catch Hawachu. Hawachu will die, but in exchange for Doomslayer.
Yeah, and that was a huge play for the Syndra there, picking up 1,000 gold bounty on the Pyke. I mean, this is kind of the saving grace we were just talking about. And he's definitely making the plays he needs to keep his team in this, picking up so much gold, hitting 2 items now, getting to this late game on Syndra. He's going to be a force.
Look at the devil when they come, what can I say? Looks like,
exactly.
Ithaca is going to try to get some pressure and hopefully get power finally. You have to get from this whole game. But the ground action is there with the Volibear. Selby has the slow. Kylodon's back on the map. Boarding Pass will go down. Big Rondo has to burn Flash, but it will be for nothing. The Gnar ult locks him in place. Doomslayer trying to on Lavinia's tail.
I love the way the Pyke is playing this. He's hooking, and then he's running straight for the back line. He's continuing the fight. It's very well executed. Kind of giving Akathia second thoughts whether, hey, our teammate just got hooked. Should we turn? Should we help him? Uh,
It's Ithaca.
Ithaca, once you turn, and then yeah, just kind of punishing the second thoughts that they're having.
Yeah, it's proving to be really disastrous for Ithaca. Indra, despite having the tools to get these picks, if the team gets caught out on the rest of the map, it makes it very hard to do anything with that.
Oh, definitely here, and we see a little bit of slower play here. Galio splitting out bot. He's very mobile. He can TP. He can just walk up the river and then ult his team mid if he needs to.
Yeah, and here we
Again,
see. Maybe we look at like the items too. You see the all the HP on Doomslayer, making it really hard to like block out. It looks like there's going to be a stun on Lavinia. The Draven is going to go down, just locked up in jail for a really long time, thanks to that Everfrost.
Yeah, there's just so much CC coming out from the side of CUAA. And with that pick, it feels like they're going to move into a position here to, secure this Dragon Soul and kind of try and put the game away.
Yeah, I mean, because Ithaca's just not been able to really get enough pressure onto these dragons to really take any of them. And it looks like, well, they're trying to maybe get a tower finally, but it's a big question if that's really worth it for Dragon Soul. Granted, there just isn't much choice left. But Halachu, this is son off of Khazad-dûm, might be looking to punish him by just outright killing him with the ultimate there. Doomslayer was behind, but not able to do a whole lot. Does ult, but cancels it quickly, realizing boarding pass was close to punish that. Oh, another stun goes down. Lavinia's trying to get in the backline. Halachu might lose his life for this one. Does go down. Lavinia, actually, that was Lavinia as Pantheon, moving on to Mal's and not being able to do a whole lot else now that the team has realized what has happened. And Draven will follow up. A bit of a lame duck for this game.
Yeah, and with that, the Pike kind of went in, overextended a little bit before his team finished up with the Drake. And he paid for it. But at the end of the day, CUAA is just too far ahead on their other champions at this point that
seems like you deal with one threat, there's 4 others you have to deal with next. And while Lavinia did, I actually lost track for a bit since Lavinia had switched to. I think Lavinia had switched.
I think he picked up the Malzahar body there, and kind of went back in. But on the other side, the Volibear Brown action was very, he just ran straight for the threat that he knew, which was the Syndra, and just kind of, there's not a whole lot a control mage can do when a bruiser like Volibear gets on top of you.
The thing about CUAA is they have so many ways to just collapse on Halachu. It makes his job all that much more harder. You can get the pick on one person, but as we were saying earlier, it's really hard. Once you use those tools, they're down for a considerable amount of time.
Oh, definitely. And this is very interesting. Syndra getting the death cap now. That's going to be a huge pickup. It's going to be a huge power spike, but, CUAA.
Yeah, the CUAA is going to be taking the Baron while Ithaca is not really able to respond, mostly just getting some more farm with the rest of the map. CUAA going to take this Baron uncontested.
Yep, and it's kind of been the theme of this whole game. It's just kind of the control they've had over the map.
Oh, Halachu getting that stun. Pike forced to use ult to make sure that he goes down as fast as possible. Dravenall comes out, but it's not going to be a whole lot of damage. Ithaca's going to try to make their last stand here at this tower.
It looks like they're just going to wait out front of the wave, but on the side of CUAA, this Pike is getting it feels like a little too big for his britches here. He's been one shot. The last couple fights, hasn't been able to really impact the way he wants to for his team, and it feels like it's going to slow down this push significantly here.
Yeah, I mean they don't have the hook to really try to force Ithaca off the tower, they can't really do a whole lot to stop them from just clearing the wave, especially now that they have just resetting. The crisis is very low, taking a lot from that puzzle earlier. Should be a little bit of stun off there.
Oh my goodness, that's Syndra damage.
It's starting to hurt quite a bit there. The Pike is back now, and it's looking to be a 5v5 potentially brewing here. Although they do clear the wave.
Yeah, and here for Ithaca, if they can keep the Syndra safe through a fight, they do have a decent chance at winning it. You know, she could do a lot of damage to multiple members at once.
Yeah, the only problem is that Lachu is a little bit low here. It does have blue buff, so clearing the wave is not going to be the problem for them. Oh, looks like Crisis going down to Azadon, trying to do a hit. The Galio comes out early. Luckily, Ithaca didn't really commit a whole lot there. Galio following up with a bit of CC of his own there. Lavinia barely dodges that, and the gold pose goes on to Viego.
Yeah, and I just want to point out there, you know, that hook on the Syndra over the wall forces her flash out, and that's going to make it even harder for her to stay safe.
Oh yeah,
during this siege here. And if she goes down, you know, it feels like that might just be game for Ithaca here.
they're trying their hardest to defend this tower, but they their main source of damage did have to back. Was forced away from burning. And they will take the inhibitor tower.
Yeah, the tower will go down. It looks like CUAA is going to be just fine with that. They're going to give up the siege. They're going to reset. And probably look to go bot or top here to get one of those outers.
Well, likely we'll see from CUAAs themselves, the Elder, since Elder is up in 1 minute. Next Baron is up for 3 minutes, so I think we're going to see a big push from CUAA on the bot side, try to force this Aura Tower and then potentially rotate to Elder. So depending on how well Ithaca can play around bot side.
Yeah, we'll say for Ithaca, it's huge for them defending that inhibitor. Not having constant mid pressure when trying to contest an objective like Elder Drake is huge, because that's kind of knocking at your door. If they get that, and you know, it really makes you think, you know, do we contest this or do we defend our base that's being crumbled by these huge minions?
That would normally put any other team on a timer. Thanks to their defense, they were able to play well enough to get up. Oh, looks like Pike is getting golden post here. Diego is here with a stun, but will instead be stunned in return. Ithaca forced to use Shirelia's to back out of this engagement.
And Ithaca here, they really need to back quickly if they're going to.
Oh, Hazan just gets a dive onto Viego, blocking that down.
That was just an insane play, dude. I mean, the Pike is just huge here. He's controlling as much as sure, he fumbled it a few times when he got one-shotted by Syndra, but I mean, he's freeing up so much space and pressure for this team here.
Ithaca losing their jungler like that, which is really devastating, losing Elder like here. But have to see what happens in the next couple minutes. I can't imagine being all I hope for Ithaca. You know, you still have your main damage source up, but they have a pretty nasty buff. Oh.
Yeah, and one thing
Azadam's, he's sinking in the waters. He's looking for a potential hook. Crisis does dodge, and they're just going to try to go for this open inhibitor.
I will say, you know, Malzahar is very scary with this buff because he puts that damage over time on you.
Yep, Big Wumbo is getting hooked by the Pike. Ignite goes down on him.
Oh my
one shot by Halachu.
And that's the power of the Syndra we're talking about. I mean,
that late game is just proving really crazy. Lavinia, unfortunately, not able to pick up the Pike Soul in time. Otherwise, would have been very, very bad for CUAA. Oh, another stun, half of his health, and he's just deleted from the game. Crisis is trying to risk his life for the stun. Malachi's in the middle of it. They're spurning so much. Iridril's ult is just wasting away the team. Brown is all alone, but does take Viego with him. Can they do it? No.
Will he turn it? Oh. Will he turn it?
Oh, he's looking for it.
He's thinking about it.
He's interested. Yeah. He's pushing. He does still have the Elder buff, but...
Oh my gosh, yeah, that Syndra is just...
Syndra,
Singer's so huge for them, man. I mean,
the
he
question
just
was, could Syndra pull the weight? And Halachu proved that he in fact can.
he can. You know, he's getting to the point where he's going to finish up this void staff here pretty soon, and then we'll see if he holds on to the Medjais or not. I mean, odds are he'll get rid of it if he keeps getting killed in these fights, but you know he's going to be full build and having that 15% extra
And most with
AP.
how long this game is going, I imagine once the next time Halachu dies, it's probably going to be the one of the death knells for CUAA. Would be
I
my
agree,
prediction.
but if they can trade, you know, 2 or 3 before he does, like they did this last fight, I mean, there's definitely potential for the tides to turn a little bit in this game.
And here we see CUAA support just trying to secure that vision, going very zooming really fast with that. They're like, oh, does get a hook onto Lavinia here, but we'll back up, seeing a bunch of his team right behind him.
That's a smart play here. I
Oh, they're
oh,
trying to get a hook off.
looking
Halachu
for
does
it.
get hit by that force to burn flash. Really close call, Halachu. Cutting it very close.
Yeah, playing with fire here a little bit. I mean, we've seen it the last few times he's been able to one-shot this Pike, and you know, I think that he might be getting a little bit too overconfident with that.
Yeah,
Walking face first into a bush, you know.
if you all it takes is one CC hitting you. Halachi just walking in gets the knockoff. It's trying to ult Doomslayer, but it will just hit the golden statue because Ondom's trying to follow up and secure the kill. Doomslayer drops the burn damage. Halachi is going to wither away, but Laviana is close by. Crisis dying on the Baron.
And we'll see if they can hold the base here with, you know, a numbers disadvantage. You know, it's a 4v3 here.
Oh, but Draven has to burn the flash. Tries to knock him aside, but Walder cannot be CC'd. Does get hooked into him. Draven goes down. Lavinia is trying to get back here. Boarding pass has to flash out of the hook. And it is not looking good for Ithaca, although CUAA is waiting for the wave. And once it comes up, we'll have to see. Can they finish this game?
You know, just last game we saw how fast these towers melted.
Oh,
and
speaking
it looks like it's
of, oh
happening
my
again.
God.
You know, it's
What is
feels
this?
like
What is this match? Oh, Leviana is trying to, but I mean, he just gets hooked again. All the CC going down, and CUAA will secure their second win at the Invitational.
and that's just going to be game here. You know, they're kind of executing perfectly. I mean, shout out to Ithaca. You know, they had a very good defense there at the end. You know, they were holding on as much as they could, but it felt like earlier in the game they just gave up too much pressure, too much map control, too many objectives, and they just fell a little bit short. Um, I think that if they delayed a Drake or two, they had a pretty good shot at winning this game when they got to this point. But unfortunately, it was just too little, too late, and CUAA capitalized when they needed to.
We saw Halachi with the Syndra power kicking on and just pulling a lot of weight at the end of the game there. But it was just unfortunate that he just didn't have enough of a team to back up. You have a Pantheon who uh, couldn't really do much in lane or couldn't be aggressive enough in lane. You have a Draven who kind of got neutered by the Malzahar pick. You just don't really have the backup you need as a Syndra to supply all of your damage. As much, even though you have all this damage, you don't have a whole lot of ways to get it out there.
Exactly, and looking at the picks, you know, Malzahar had a lot more to stand behind than the Syndra did. I mean, Pantheon, especially with this kind of bruiser, you know, fighter build, he's not much of a frontliner. Viego, same kind of story. You know, they're just not tanky enough to provide the protection that, you know, to stop CUAA's team from coming straight to the back line and just, you know, decimating it.
Props to both teams. The CUAA played much cleaner, even though they already played fairly cleanly in game one, executing their game plan a lot more smoothly this time. Also to Ithaca for putting up a really solid fight, despite we saw what the game plan they had. It didn't really work out, but they stuck in it and they dug their foot in the trenches as long as they could.
All right, welcome back to the stream. ESU Navigators Invitational Game 2, Wartburg versus K-State. I'm very excited for this one. Wartburg won the first game through some of those early trades. K-State as well apparently drafted an early game in their first game, but they were not able to close it out. So I'm very interested to see how it plays out. We're going to get right into draft phase. Now, these bans are coming out very, very quick. Swain, Seraphine, Aatrox for Wartburg. Getting that Aatrox away from K-State, getting Seraphine away from K-State, I think that's very, very smart. Kane, Fiddlesticks, Yumi. I mean, all those champions are just so annoying. I hate Yumi. I think we all hate Fiddlesticks. And like I mentioned last stream, Kane is just very, very good, especially in the hands of Wartburg. They've been doing such a good job on the jungle. Misfortune first pick coming out for Wartburg, starting strong. Such a solid ADC. A little easy to kill. It doesn't have quite the mobility of others, so if K-State's able to get an aggressive ganker might be a problem. But the scaling is just so good. No matter what, Misfortune's gonna have some impact. She can check bushes with her E. Her ultimate's always gonna be able to, deal some damage or some armor from a safe distance. So a pretty solid first pick. Zillion coming up for K-State. Now, I think this is interesting. Zillion can go either mid or support, and it's just always such a great pick. You have a surprising amount of catch with those bombs in that slow. You can keep someone like Permis CC'd, make them go really, really slow, and that revive is just always going to be useful. There's not a single game where that revive isn't going to have some use on it. And then the Jhin to answer the Misfortune. This is going to make for a really interesting bot lane. Both Jhin and Misfortune are kind of aggressive ADCs. They typically have, one ability being Jin's fourth auto and Misfortune's, bounced Q that just deal a lot of really quick burst damage. They have that burst. So it's going to be really interesting to see. A Mumu coming out for Wartburg. Another good flex pick. Mumu can go jungle or support. He's a bit more popular support right now, even being seen in Worlds quite a bit, just because of how good it is. And then the Lux coming through as well. If that is going support, Misfortune Lux is very, very strong. Lots of good range, lots of long-range poke, and a lot of good all-in. You get one stun on the Lux, Misfortune ult, Lux ult, dead. I don't care who you are, dead. So it should be a really powerful siege comp coming through here. We'll see what the answer is from K-State. Right now, I'm liking the looks of Wartburg's draft. They've got a lot of attack, they've got a lot of siege. They can play from a couple different strengths, and they will pick up the Urgot top. Urgot is quite a solid pick right now. He has a surprising amount of damage in tank. He is just this raid boss of a juggernaut where he will sit in the middle of three people and steal out DPS everyone. You really gotta whittle down those health bars and not let him get onto you. Doesn't work as well. Excuse me. Still, kind of does play with the Jhin Zillion a little bit. Going for. This K-State's really drafted a very heavy siege comp at the moment. That Zillion Jhin having a lot of presence. You walk close to those guys and they're just going to burst you down just with major damage. And Urgot also has some of that protection. You can't get to that Jhin without going through Urgot if he decides to front line. And Urgot's going to be very difficult to kill. Oh, excuse me. We have the Zed ban and the Viego ban coming through, targeting the mid laner and the jungler. Now both of these are very solid picks. That Zed is gonna be able to find the pick onto Jhin pretty easily. He doesn't have the mobility, and while Zillion it does have the protection. If that ult is ever down, or he could always just switch targets and target the Zillion and bait out that ult really early and still be able to escape. Looks like there was a mistake with the draft. We'll have to see what that ban is in a moment. And we have the Ornn ban. Ornn is just such a solid pick, always going to be good. Has surprisingly good trade early game and scales into the late game. It's really interesting though that they banned Ornn when K-State's already picked Urgot. Are they thinking maybe it's Urgot? I haven't really done a deep dive into these comps, but maybe they were thinking it was Urgot jungle or mid or something like that. Zach pick coming through. I mean, I love Zach. He is such a good pick in my opinion. Always going to be good with just such long range engage. And you know, he can sort of flank. He can sort of be a front line and attack, sort of like a traditional vanguard. He has a lot of different possibilities. And that paired with the Zillion, he's going to be very, very hard to kill. Hecarim coming over for Wartburg. You know, we saw Wartburg pick up the Hecarim last fight, and they were able to do so much with it. It was so impactful. They were really able to get those ganks off, find some early kills. Wartburg did a very good job at using the strengths of Hecarim early. And then the set pickup for the top into the Urgot should be very interesting. You know, both of these are really big juggernauts. Urgot has a bit of a level 1 strength, but we'll have to see where that comes out. And then finally the Mordekaiser. So yeah, it did look like that, you know, perhaps, you know, was that Urgot top? Is that Mordekaiser top? I have not looked at the op.gg's, so I do not know. This is going to be as much a surprise for me as it may be for you guys. But so far, you know, these are some really solid comps. Taking a look at it, you know, Wartburg, they have some really good attack and engage. You know, Amumu and Hecarim are going to be able to go in there. Amumu, you know, starts the engage. He gets a Q and a big ult. That gives Hecarim time to flank around from the side and set to run into the front. And Misfortune and Lux are just going to be able to deal a lot of their burst damage. While looking on to the K-State side, you know, there's a lot more balance. They don't have any particular strength. They have some good team fight, but they can also protect. They can bush cheese and catch a little bit, and they can also siege. So we'll have to see exactly where that goes. Exactly. All right, so the players will be starting soon. So we will be going on a break just to sort of catch up to the delay. And we will be back very shortly. This should be a very fun game. You know, K-State's not quite as aggressive early as they were in the past game. But we'll just have to see how that plays out. If they can hold their own, I do believe they have a little bit better scaling. And again, they have some options. They don't just have to go for the team fights like Wartburg kind of has to. They're a bit more of a traditional comp here. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. I'm very excited. I hope you guys are too. And I will see you in a few minutes. Get right into it. Now, so far, you know, nothing exciting has happened. You know, both these teams are just doing a very traditional 5-point, not necessarily looking for any advantage. So yeah, it turns out that the Urgot was a misplay and ended up being a Yasop, like I said, which makes a lot more sense for the draft and for the bans from Wartburg. So that makes a lot more sense. And it does sort of change the dynamic around this. It does sort of mean that K-State has a bit, you know, they don't have quite as good of an engage or of a catch pressure, but instead they do have quite a bit of split. You know, Mordekaiser is a really good split pusher because you have to send multiple to deal with him, and even if when you do, he can very often just ult one person, get a kill, and at least make it 1-for-1. So you have to be really, really careful when playing around the Mordekaiser split. It'll be very interesting to see what K-State is able to do with that information. So far, nothing too exciting is happening. Just some basic trades going down. Hecarim is a bit faster on the clear, as to expect. But the one and only Deft, of course he's the one and only Deft, you know, does have equal, if not better, gank pressure than the Hecarim. So we'll definitely have to see how that plays out. Dasco slaps and Young Ion will definitely have a bit more of a lane pressure here. You know, System Failure might have better engage. They might have the better all-in. But since both of K-State's bot lanes are ranged, they should have a much easier time, you know, getting the poke out, getting the shove out. And just maybe that'll lead to K-State being able to pick up some more objectives. We'll just have to see exactly how that plays out. You know, some decent trades coming down here. You know, Borge and Meatball, they are just going for it. Testing the waters, seeing who is the better top laner, fighting for that alpha dominance. It happens so often in top lane. Because, you know, I mean, it's such a snowball lane. One person gets ahead, it's, you know, it feels like GG for the other player. It's also traditionally the least ganked lane. So we'll have to see exactly how that plays out. These are some really good trades, guys. Now, Meatball taking a lot of damage, you know, missing the you know, missing his pull is very bad because it means that Borge has free reign to come in, deal his damage, and get out relatively unscathed. So Meatball is going to have to back and most likely TP back into lane, which is already a pretty big advantage for Borge. We'll have to see how this plays out. It looks like there's a gank coming out already. Corn King trying to find something. He will just kind of get E-Blind's shield, N-Blind's shield, but it won't be enough to actually do much of anything. One only death coming for the Borge. He's dealing a lot of damage, but one only does have the passive. Borge has to forgo the fight. System failure taking a lot of damage here. And Meatball will just hammer on this set. You know, he doesn't have the chase ability. That shield's going to run out. Borge will barely get away with the flash, dodging the Q, and Meatball will escape. He does get Def's passive. The Zackle won't have as good of gank pressure anymore. Very good trade. Meatball will be able to get a shove and maybe even just force the TP of Borge and get a good back himself. So we'll definitely see how that plays out. Blind taking a bit of damage here, looking to be aggressive, but that turret shot, that hurts early, buddy. Like one wrong move and that Lux can pop him. Luckily for N-Blind, Nick Show is quite out of mana, so we'll not be able to find such a trade. You take a look at some of these CS leads right now. So far, it's not going too much. I will say that Vides is getting quite a bit of CS onto Young Ion. You know, I wasn't quite expecting that myself. You know, Jin and Zillion have so much more pressure. You think that Misfortune would be able to pick up a bit more CS. But apparently Vides and System Failure are playing around their strengths very well, you know, threatening that all in. Because Misfortune does have a bit more shove pressure than Jin. So, you know, if Amumu's applying his pressure right, it should be good. Now, Meatball gets the pull on the Borge. This is what he's looking for. He's able to sort of tick down Borge. Now, Borge did not use his teleport, so he will be able to come back relatively healthy. There's quite a few skirmishes going down. N-Blind going in. Young Ion getting chunked, but then one and only Def goes in, gets a massive stun on two people. System Failure about to die. One and only Def gets sped up by Dasco slaps, and he will find the first blood. Now there's another skirmish going on. Meatball finding quite a bit of damage on the Borge, and there won't be a kill available. Now N-Blind is pulling a lot of pressure from Corn King. You know, he tried to find the engage, but N-Blind played it very well, you know, saving his win wall for the stun, making sure that he was able to get out alive. And that allowed for Def to go bot lane, you know, and to find that kill. Very well done on everyone there. We'll have to see what he is able to do with that lead, you know. Unless you're going AP, you know, that gold isn't quite as nice as it would be if it was on someone like Jin. So we'll just have to see how that worked out. I like this cheese strat from Meatball. You know, he's looking to find something. He's able to get it. Borge just hit 6, though, so it might be interesting. Looks like it'll just be a small trade and an escape. Oh, there is a dive. N-Blind going for Mignic Show, and he's able to do the damage before Lux is able to get any of her sums out. So that will be a solo kill going over to N-Blind. Very well executed. Luckily for Mignic Show, he did take TP. He was sort of expecting the aggression here. And he should be able to pick up some of these minions, or at least the XP, not lose as much as he should. Very smart on Magnecio, I think, picking up the TP. Something like Exhaust or Barrier could have worked as well. But I think that TP is going to scale quite well into the late game as well. Meatball has definitely taken the lead here. Borge does have the Vampiric Scepter, so if he can just avoid these trades and heal up in between fights, just maybe he'll be able to catch up. Gold lead is pretty even on the top lane, so neither top laner has found that edge quite yet. Just looks like Corn King is in this area. He will get spotted by a ward, and that might stop any and all potential. There's quite a... Meatball is walking, trying to get a ward down, and will just push away Corn King, saying, I may not... I may, you know, I may be isolated here, but I have an ultimate, and I will kill you in it if you're not careful. Right now, there's just a little bit of a gold lead for K-State. They have found 2 early kills. That should be very good. We'll see if they're able to sort of keep this lead going and shut down Wartburg. The CS differences are sort of about even. Everyone's sort of eating each other out. While N-Blind might be 10 CS up, so is Vides or Wartburg. So it's about even. And it should be really interesting to see which of these teams is able to pick up the Drake first. You know, K-State does have that bot lane pressure. with the two bombs from Zillion, and they can really shove out the wave and rotate a lot faster than Misfortune and Moo ever could. So I'll have to see if they can use it. I think if Warburg's going to want this Drake, they might have to commit a gank to bot lane, get that bot lane shut down, or at least get some key abilities. You know, Desko Slaps doesn't have his ultimate yet. He doesn't have the ability to bring back Young Ion if he gets caught. Not quite yet. They're kind of on a timer. Corn King did just get his ghost back up, so we'll just have to see where that goes. Meatball and Borge are fighting right now. It looks like the Death Realm is about to go down. Meatball is running at Borge. He is out of options right now. He uses the W to try to get some damage, but it will not be enough. Meatball steals those steps. The Young Ion is caught, just like I mentioned. He will get ulted by Desko Slaps, but it will not matter. Desko Slaps is able to flash up. Young Ion running for his life. Corn King will ult and pick up Desko Slaps. Young Ion trying to run away. He will get the flash and escape. But that is one kill going over to Corn King. And that might be the advantage they need to pick up this Drake. This is exactly what Warburg need to be doing. You know, they're a little on the defensive at the moment. You know, they were down 3 kills. But still trading that aggression, being like they're not ready to turtle yet. They're looking to try and get some trades. And Blender, however, punishing this McNick quite a bit, finds the ultimate, gets Ignite, and pops McNick not respecting the end blind engage. You know, you gotta be really careful around the Yasuo. Just let him take the pressure, lose some CS, lose some XP. You know, when he has the ability to do that. Corn King will pick up the minions, so the team as a whole doesn't lose too much. But M-Blind is getting more and more of a lead. Meatball has sort of established his place as the dominant top laner with that kill. However, Borge, you know, he rushed for those Merc Treads, which is probably a very good idea. Unfortunately, Meatball also rushed for Blade Steel Caps. Over 10 minutes, and neither team has taken the drink, although Def might be looking to pressure for it. He does get spotted by a ward, so hopefully Warburg plays a bit more safe. Though Disco Slaps, I mean that slow into double bomb stun, that's a lot of damage on Vitus. Suddenly, he can't be there for that fight without getting instantly pumped by something. Oh, and the Young Ion drops the ult, trying to find the kill. Vitus is a little fast, though. The bomb will go down. He will flash. Beautiful patience on Young Ion, you know, waiting, you know, just toying with his prey, waiting for the, you know, baiting up the flash. You know, Vedas was a little on edge. Corn King looking for a gank to pick up his Meatball. Meatball does not have ult yet, so he is actually facing 1v2. He will live, though. He's dealing quite a bit of damage. He is sustaining. Will it be enough? He's dealing a lot of damage to Borge, and he's just waiting for the ult to come up. It's almost off of cooldown. He will 1v2 pick up Corn King. Will he be able to? He does find the Death Realm on the board, and he finds the double kill. That is huge. Flashing the Mash Livestone. That's what I like to see. The Inkcho is here. He might be able to find the combo, but that shield is just way too big. Meatball's way too much problem. And then Deft comes in and will pick up Magneto. He will have to flash away. What an impressive performance on Meatball. You know, that's the strength of this Mordekaiser. You know, these giant juggernauts. You know, they might not have a lot of mobility, they might not have a lot of engage, but they have so much damage if you stay on top of them. Both Huckerman and Set need to get in close, and I mean, with the lead that Mordekaiser has, I mean, he can just dominate everything. He didn't even need to use ult. He did to secure the kill on Borge, but it's just like, it wasn't enough. So now he is huge. He's going to have a mass pressure on the map, and like I mentioned, earlier, you know, that Mordekaiser split pushing is going to have a lot of pressure, although they will find Corking here. You have to ult out, trading mid ult for jungle ult. And just maybe they'll take this Drake. You know, I'm really looking for one of these teams to take these Drakes already. K-State does have 6 kills up, finding that early game. They're only about 3k gold up, you know, that's not the biggest lead. It's certainly, they're certainly able to come back if Warburg is able to sort of find some other advantages, find some picks, maybe find that Drake so that they can stall the game a bit longer and scale a bit. You know, the longer the game goes, the less and less that gold lead matters. Def trying to get something started, but he will be on a ward, unfortunately, which I do have to commend Warburg's warding. They are placing some really good wards to stop everything something. Borge trying to find some small trade, but ends up being a relatively big trade, and Meatball Shield is just going to mean that that he takes absolutely no damage from that fight. He's just a menace at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in Solo's Rift right now. He can. I do like Deft here. He's looking, you know, just because they have a lead, you know, he's not slowing down. You know, he could be killing his bot side camps. Even his top side camps are up. You know, this isn't very gold efficient for him. Corn King does have a 20 CS lead. But that's a lot of damage on Young Line. He will pop. Heal will go down. So will the Zillion ult, and that'll be enough. One and only Def make sure that the fight doesn't go any further. You know, it's definitely obvious that they were trying to bait something, but Vitas and, you know, System Failure, they just have way too much damage. You know, baiting the AD carry life like that just isn't quite good enough. Magneto flashes over the wall, or Endmine flashes over on the Magneto, trying to find the kill, but knockup goes through, the ult goes through, and once again, Magneto is just ending up to be this pretty big liability as Endblind is just pushing the limits of his champion. Sun ult trying to get away. He is in the Delta Realm. He will pull him into turret, which will be doing some damage, and the shield will come down. The true damage being good. He flashes the Q, though. It's barely live. Now Corn King comes in. Meatball does not have the tools available to live here. Will he be able to trade? Meatball still has a lot of damage, but his cooldowns are not up. The shield comes up, and the Q, the isolated Q, does more damage, and he's able to burst Corn King. This Mordekaiser is huge. 4-0, like a 30-40 CS lead. I mean, he is unstoppable at this point. I mean, what do you do? What do you do if you're Warburg here? This Mordekaiser pick is so strong. I mean, you're gonna need some range to kill him. You're gonna need to whittle him down a little bit. Maybe buy some QSS, get rid of that ult so he doesn't keep those extra stats for very long. We'll have to see what Warburg can come up with. Though another just instant engage on the Magneto. He will be able to get away this time. And Blind not being as patient, not waiting for the stun to go down before he engages. But the Ignite ult does get quite a bit of damage down. However, Magneto, it does still have a lot of damage himself. You know, that Blasting Wand on its own gives a lot of AP. So Endblind is going to have to respect the damage a bit. You know, if Corn King was just a little better positioned, maybe something else would happen. You know, I thought that Deft was about to start that Drake, and I wish he would. It's 15 minutes, and no team has taken a Drake yet. Just please, take the Drake. You know, it's such a big win con. It's so important, especially in 5v5. Maybe not so much in solo queue, but in these 5v5s, it's really how you secure the victory. The fact that it's taking so long is actually really good for Warburg. Oh, and Meatball's just going right forward. He puts Borge into the Death Realm. He's going to slap him down. Borge is barely able to run into turret range, but it doesn't matter. He takes no damage. He's able to just solo kill Borge. Borge not giving the respect that he needs to.
With my technique.
You know, Meatball has Riftmaker already, and he's already starting to build onto his next item. While Borge just has completed boots. Corn King trying to find something here. Disco Slaps will get caught a little bit, but his movement speed is a lot. Disco Slaps has to run the other direction because of the ult. A lot of damage coming down. Disco Slaps, really good disengage. Ult himself to make sure he doesn't die, but it times out, and Vitas will find the kill. However, they will trade it on the other side of the map. Meatball will find the second turret of the game, but there's more fights going down. Endblind taking a lot of damage, and he will go down. The shutdown going over to System Failure. Maybe not the person you want, but still very good fight. It looks like finally Warburg will take the Drake. They will be trading it for the Rift though, you know, which might not be worth it. You know, Meatball with the Rift in his hand, he finds one kill in the set, and he'll need an entire team to stop him from taking Init. They have to be really, really careful. But not only did Warburg get the objective, they also got a bonus 500 gold split through the team. That's pretty major. If we look at the gold lead, you know, it used to be a lot bigger, but now it's only about 4K, which is still in the favor of K-State. They're still doing really well for themselves. 7 kills up, 2 turrets up. They have the Rift, which, you know, Meatball was able to pick that up on the Mordekaiser. So yeah, I mean, K-State's looking pretty here. They really are. And as we sort of get into this mid game, as these turrets are starting to fall, it's really up to K-State to keep up this pressure. You know, it's actually quite a challenge playing from ahead because you have to keep up that pressure. And the fact that they haven't gotten a Drake yet is not a great sign. You know, they're gonna have to fight without those buffs. You know, it's gonna be so long before Soul Point or Elder, especially since Warper was able to get that first Drake. I think that was very good on their part. Emporia trying to 1v2 here. He's doing it pretty well. He burst down McNick, so McNick's a flash behind Corn King, trying to find some safety, but it will not be enough. Emporia will find the kill. Moroshibo kicks in, and Corn King is not going to be able to find it. He does get the ult off. He's trying to pitch down the Emporia, and he will find the kill, shutting down Emporia. You know, Corn King, we saw his performance last game. It was very, very good. So, you know, now that he's got a couple kills, maybe he can go back into that carry role. He can find some more picks. Shutting down Unblind is pretty big. Let's see where that goes. That did close down the gold lead by quite a bit. It's only about 3k now. That was a really good fight. You know, the Lux isn't worth that much. The Nick Show is not worth as much dead as Endblind is dead. So that is, you know, Warper, you know, must be really happy with that trade. Death Cheer gets spotted by a ward again. This bot lane is doing such a good job at keeping their bushes warded so they don't get ganked. You know, if they look, they've each died only one time, which is very impressive for someone like Zach. With someone as immobile as Misfortune, you know, we expected to die a lot more, but they're doing a really good job at keeping that shut down through their ward control. However, now this might be kind of interesting. Both junglers are sort of huddling around here. Deft is going in. Doesn't see Corn King until he already goes in. And the Mumu will get the Q ult. Damage will be going down. And Deft is left with the Justice passive. And Young Ion and Disco Slap, so they just can't do anything. That's poor bot lane. There's nothing they can do. They found a really good pick onto Deft. You know, that's kind of the only problem with someone like Zach is that once you go in, you can't really go out. And the fact that you can go in so far means you might not see that the enemy jungler is right there ready to counter jungle. Emily here's a little caught out. Now the board or Corn King is super strong, so it's very possible Emily might be able to play here. Now Meatball is here, and it's just like, it's not a fight anymore. You see Corn King and Borge running for their lives. The Rift did drop though, and the pressure did pull Meatball away. He won't be taking the turret as far as he could. You know, that the Rift is going to be taking quite a bit of damage, and it looks like they'll just let it fall. Corn King will be stopping that from getting the next charge. Probably a good thing. So as we hit this 20-minute mark, let's take a look at the state of the game. If we take a look at gold leads, I mean, you know, Meatball has 8.8k opposed to Set's 5.3k. That is such a big gold lead. There's a minor gold lead in the favor of Corn King as opposed to Deft. You know, like Zach is not able to farm quite as much, and his ganks haven't been as successful thanks to the great warding of Woodbird's bot lane. Mid lane, as we expect, there's such a gold lead, 8.4k on Endblind and only 5.3 on McNick Show. And that, I mean, yeah, 4 deaths, 4 kills. It's gonna be a lot of gold. And then finally, Young Ion is a little behind Misfortune. Misfortune has been forming really well. 40-50 CS on Jhin. That's very, very impressive. You know, kind of the saving grace for Warbrick. You know, Misfortune ult's gonna shut through everybody. Doesn't matter how fed Yasuo and Mordekaiser are. If they take that full ult, they're gonna be dying. You know what? Young is a little caught here. Despo Slap is gonna bail him out. Vitas having really nicely trying to get through. Looks like there will be a dive from one only Deft. He's going for it. That Misfortune just so low, and he will escape. It's going to take a lot of turret damage, but he will escape. But if we look mid lane, you know, Endblind is just shoving for this turret. There's so much attention bot lane. He's able to do whatever he wants. Corn King's gonna try and shut them things down. But Meatball is going to put System Failure into the Death Realm. System Failure stalling very nicely, but it doesn't matter. He's taking a lot of damage. Maybe he'll get out. He will get out, so the stats will not be going over, but he will end up finding the kill. Forge will trade a turret on the other side, which is very good. Getting that, I don't believe there was a bounty on there, but yeah, I mean, good trade. You know, it's about 4k gold, 4k gold difference, and now the second Drake is being taken. It's 22 minutes, and the second Drake is being taken. I really would have liked to see K-State have better control of these Drakes. It's going to be so long until the soul point. Even if they get the rest of them, you know, it'll be like 38 minutes before the soul point. So it's like they can't necessarily rely on that to end, because at that point, everyone's going to be full build. You know, that gold difference isn't going to matter near as much. They're going to have to find another way to end this, probably through a Baron play. And Vitus walks into a bush blind. Emblind just sitting there waiting for his kill, and he will find it. Not a surprise, 4-2 Yasuo sitting in the bush. Doesn't matter what AD carry you are, you're going to be dying there. Emblind just being a menace. You see him putting so much pressure on the map. He's so far ahead, he can 1v1, even 1v2 pretty much anyone. And here he goes again, he's 1v2ing. He does have ult, he didn't have to use it on Vitus, so... he's just applying so much pressure here. Chipping away at that mid turret. Very, very good pressure on his sense. Letting his team free up. Looking for invades and ganks. And it looks like K-State will be starting this Baron. And, I mean, this is what they should be doing. Since they can't play for Soul, they really have to play for Baron. I'll be interested to see how they use this, They definitely have a comp that can group as 5, turret dive mid, and wipe 13, but they can also split. They can 4-1, send Meatball into his own lane. He can draw quite a bit of pressure himself. They might 1-3-1, send Yasuo and Mord into lanes. And, that's where Warburg might run into some problems. Splitting their team like that, that's exactly what K-State wants. Mordekaiser, Yasuo, they're best in the skirmishes. They can team fight, but they're best in the smaller fights. So the more you break up those fights, the stronger they get. I'll be very interested to see how Warburg play this out. They do have some scaling capabilities, so if they can just stall a little longer, K-State doesn't have as much pressure to take these turrets. They don't shred turrets quite as fast, and there's a decent amount of wave clear on Warburg, so we'll see if they can keep out those Baron waves, but it's going to take a while. Minute show is on pure wave clear duty. Corn King finds a really big engage. Only Deft goes around as well. Disco Slap taking a lot of damage from Corn King. Corn King on the support. Deft trying to find something. Stays alive in time for Meatball to flash. He finds the Delta Realm. He is wailing on the board. Misfortune will die, and Meatball will just clean up. Settle goes in. Corn King trying to get out. Nick Show will be falling to this team, and that is 1-4-4. And Endblind wasn't even there. Yasuo was pushing the side wave, so now this is a huge advantage for K-State. They're chipping away at 2 turrets at once, 3 if you count top lane. That wave is primed and ready. You only have to go there for like 10 seconds to get the next in him. But, I mean, they might end it at this point. Bloom is up in about 5 seconds. So we'll see if that is enough to stall out this fight. They will at least get these inhibs and be able to reset. Very smart in K-State. They're using their advantage quite well. Again, they can't play for Soul, so using the Baron buff this efficiently is a good idea. Meatball caught out a little bit, but he's just so tanky it doesn't matter. Objectives are objective gold is up for Wartburg, so we'll have to see if they can capture anything. There are still 2 outers out. The Drake will be coming up soon, about 1 minute 15. If they're able to get that, they can salt this game out even longer. Although it might result in a couple of their deaths if they don't play a fight. So it's like, do you go for the steal? Do you not go for the steal? Do you stay alive? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Taking a look at the goal difference now, K-State has a solid 10k. That's hard to come back from. Oh, Corn King walks on Deft, taking his blue buff. Deft will just jump out. There's not a competition there. It's really good that K-State's taking these buffs, taking gold away from Wartburg. It's so important that you take every single resource away. Because surprisingly, Wartburg is actually getting quite a bit of gold from these 2 inhibitors being down. That is a lot of clear speed, and since there's no objectives up right now, they're not, at the moment, they're not actually losing anything. Meatball will find quite a bit of damage on Corn King, but Corn King will ult away to his safety. That is a major thing taken away. It's going to be a lot harder to try and steal this Drake if they choose to. But the longer they keep this up, the more that Wartburg is going to be able to close the gap lead, or the gold gap. As you can see, it was 10k, now it's 9k. These big minions keep coming in. K-State's losing a lot of these minions just dying because they're not there. While Wartburg is reaping all the benefits, they're getting more gold than they usually would. The Drake is coming over, but it just doesn't matter at this point. It's going to take so long for Soul to kick in. It's sort of insurance if the game goes that long. But it looks like they will be trying to close out something. Disco Slap speeds up Meeple, trying to find something. Jin gets 3 hits of the ultimate, lands for Meeple. Is now in the middle of Driven. That's exactly what he wants. He finds the Death Realm. He's taking a lot of, but Vitus finds a great ult, but it's not enough. Meeple is just slapping everyone. That is 3 dead on the side of Warburg. Will they be able to find it? K-State trying to close out this game. Corn King gets caught. He gets pulled in. He takes a lot of damage. Big Dick Show's the only one left. Will he be able to defend this? Probably not. And Blind finds the ult into the fountain and will die for it. But Nick Show does die as well. And that game will go to K-State. We have a series. Warburg won the first game. K-State lost their first game. And now the roles have swapped. So interesting. What a good series. You know, last game they really struggled. K-State really struggled to find their end. They got ahead early, but they weren't able to find it. But in this case, they were. You know, they learned from their mistakes. They were able to capitalize on the mistakes of Warburg even more. So we will go to the scoreboard so we can look at some of these graphs. I mean, looking at these damage charts, it's not even close. You know, the highest damage dealer for Warburg was Hecarim. Only did 11k. Mordekaiser did twice the damage on his own. He was such a monster. You know, Corn King tried ganking so many times and just died every single time. Mordekaiser doing such a good job at outplaying the comps and, you know, doing really well. One thing that I am interested in looking at is vision score. And if we come over, yeah, I mean, look at that vision score of that bot lane. Misfortune almost had as good of a vision score as their support. Like I was saying, they did such a good job at warding and making sure they didn't fall behind. Very impressive play. If we look at control wards purchased, I expect nothing less. Warburg only had control wards purchased on the bot lane. You know, they're the ones bringing that ward pressure. You know, because the other guys couldn't afford it. You know, mid lane and top lane, they were getting really far behind. They could not afford the wards. But at the same time, K-State, they really bought that ward pressure. You know, 5 control wards on both the Mordekaiser and the Zillion. That's a lot. That's a lot of control wards. You know, they're finding these advantages and they're not taking it for granted. They're warding the enemy team. They're making sure that the enemy team doesn't have vision of them so that they can keep safely pressing their lead. Very well done from K-State. Very impressive series. I'll be very interested to see how these teams play in the next round. You know, they're both 1-1 right now. Their next game can decide, you know, whether they go to finals, whether they don't. So I'll be interested to see in how this goes down. All right, we will be going on another break until the next game. Very interesting series, though. I'll be excited for Game 3. Warburg will stay on this stream. They will get to see me a third time. Is that a good thing or not? I don't know, but that's how the math worked out. We weren't able to get them on the other stream. So hopefully they are enjoying my commentary. You guys really are playing well. We'll have to see how you do in the Game 3. I'm very excited.